verse 3. That which exists is only the one consciousness. They are not, there's not a range of different consciousness, a supermarket, of different consciousness. Huh? No, there's only one consciousness, and the additions, you see the contents that have been superimposed on the one consciousness. So that which exists is only the one consciousness. The many conceptualized varieties of objectified consciousness, or you can say objectifying consciousness, are only an imaginary notion in that which is. So that which really exists here is consciousness. And it is there in the mental consciousness. It is there, of course, most brilliant, most luminous, self-effulgent in the I am. So as long as you are in the identified mental consciousness, you are overlooking your real nature. So you have to step down, and then you become aware. You can still speak this dualistic language that you become aware of your pure I. There was a personal I, the Facebook I, and this I now is coming home in its own source. The pure I, the I. So that is the self. The first revelation of self. Ultimate revelation is Brahman, Param Atman. That is what the self really is. And first it is revealed as the I am. So, when there is a knowing of objects existing by themselves, and known by a knower, you are in the Sutarivu. You are in the mental consciousness. So that is a fiction created by the processes of mind. That mental consciousness is consciousness processed by mind. So it is an imagination. All the objectifications of that consciousness is an imagination. It is not really there. Again, let us go back, let us remind here that beautiful Zen koan, the mountains, the trees, and the river. At first you believe they are there, out there, existing. There's a mountain there are trees, and there's a river. Yet when you come to your pure presence, you can't see these realities as objective, independent, autonomous realities. Mountain is perceived, but you can't see the mountain as being different than you. It is your own presence montaining. It is your own presence rivering, your own presence treeing. All what you see is yourself, not the personal self, but your own presence, that which is revealed here. So you recognize it everywhere, and you enter in that state of oneness, of inseparability, of indivisibility, the Advaita Drishti. Your seeing now is of the nature of oneness. Though you can circulate in this world with your intelligence, with your five senses, and there's no problem. You can climb on the mountain, yet the mountain is not separated from you. So that is the ultimate vision. So the mental consciousness is an imagination. But the I am is the first imagination. The I am is the first imagination. In that first imagination, there is bliss. There is oneness. There is love. Love is that another word for this, that the unity that you feel with all forms, the intimacy that is love. There is no greed in that love. There is no interest. There is no expectation. There is no selfishness. It's just another word for no separatedness. So, yet in that state of I am, you are there as this pure I, not the personal I. You are there and you wonder what it really is. You can't know. So there is an unknowing in the I am. And this is a very important point, because if this is understood, the whole message of the Vedas is understood. Now, when you abide in awareness, when this abidance is complete, you are in a state of surrender, a shift takes place. And you are not in control of that shift. That is what we call grace. Even the shift from mental, identified consciousness into the pure I amness is grace. You can never be, as the practitioner and the seeker, be the cause of that. It's pure grace. It comes in the context of a practice of no practice. It may come suddenly, and you may not be a seeker even. So the final shift from the I am into the source of the I am, that is the shift which is irreversible. And here, when you are beyond the Turiyatita, beyond the fourth state, that is Brahman, that is the complete knowledge we call Gyan. And to make sure that it's not misunderstood, Brahma Gyan. The knowledge of Brahman, where there is no knower, and all forms of ignorance have disappeared. So it is not an unknowing. The unknowing is the I am. See for yourself when you had that state at some point of time, or whether you are in it, or you can speak with someone who is in that state. In the I amness, there is still unknowingness. But when you come to the recognition of the source of I am, there is full knowledge. This knowledge is complete, is perfect, absolutely perfect. Yet there is no knower, the knower of something. Because Brahman, of course, it's not a form. It is the undifferentiated, vast emptiness of being, of absolute existence. So a knower cannot stand in that absolute reality. And so this is Sanatan Dham, this is the eternal message of India. That yes, the absolute can be known, but not by you as the seeker, you as the practitioner, the sadhaka, no. So therefore there is no jnani. There is only that knowledge. So whether you use the word jnana or chit, chaitanya, it is the same. Jnana is equivalent to consciousness. 5. That objective awareness, or objective awareness is objective, that objective consciousness, which adheres to you, appearing to be distinct from consciousness. Here, see, the context will tell you the meaning of the words. Appearing to be distinct from consciousness, Atma Swarup, that means the Atman, the pure Atman, the essence of yourself, appearing to be distinct from yourself, is a deception, it is an illusion, it is an imagination. The objective consciousness, which is somehow superimposed to you, which appears to be different than your pure self, it's an illusion, it's an imagination. So there's a title here, Seeking the Self Through Sutarivu is futile, of course. And this is the mistake of the seeker. That you are searching the self. Hmm? But you have not been taught how to proceed. You think that you can make it, you can perceive it. No, it is not perceivable, neither it is conceivable. It has no form, yet it has a subtle form. The I am is a subtle form. Hmm? But it's not with your conditioned consciousness, your mental consciousness, that you will come to this pure seeing of the self, which is a direct seeing. The self doesn't need any sort of consciousness. So it doesn't need the mental consciousness with all your data, your philosophy, your theology, your Indology. With that, you see, you can't come to the direct seeing. It's futile. The self is known how? By itself. To itself, in itself, by itself. Self is self-shining, self-effulgent, the self-knowing. It cannot be known by anything else. You see? So therefore, how to proceed? How to proceed? And this is where, you see, the teaching of Bhagwan are so precious, so deep, so direct, so simple. Self-inquiry is one way to proceed. If you want the fast way, the highway. So that's a shortcut. Self-inquiry is a shortcut. Because you deconstruct your mental consciousness and go first to the primal thought. All your thinking is there only because there's a primal thought. That is the I thought, aham vritti. Right, we don't speak about the real aham, that's something else. That's prior to the vritti. The real aham, the pure aham is self. It's another word for self. That's why in the Upanishad, they use aham as the individual aham, but then there's a pure aham. Because when you awake to the I am, what do you say? Aham, if you have to say anything. Or aham asmi, if you know little Sanskrit. There is only this presence here, nothing else. I, but not the personal I, of course. So, it is not, verse 11, it is not possible to see the I with the I. Correct? The I, your organ of vision, can only see objects, it can never see itself. Otherwise you need a mirror. And then the eye that you see in the mirror is not the real eye that is seeing, it's a reflected eye, it's an image. So the eye cannot see the eye. Right. So, in the same way, it is not possible to see the self with Sutarivu. It's a powerful statement here. Because the Sutarivu, that splitted consciousness, can only objectify. And because it can only objectify and grasp objects, how can it be useful to know the self? It will objectify the self, and you will never come to the direct seeing, because the self is not something. That is the mode of knowledge of Sutarivu, of mental consciousness. It is that objective knowledge. Since the self is beyond any objective knowledge, you can't proceed with the Sutarivu. So that's the wrong approach. Now, 14. It is only because the self shines as you and as not different from you that it has become impossible for you to attain it through your Sutarivu. So the self is not attainable. You can't attain it because it's ever there, it's ever attained, ever realized. So you can't attain, there's no one who can attain there. Because the one who may attain, who thought he or she may attain, that is again that individuality, which is a fiction, that has come over the awareness. So it is already attained. Just you have to drop the clinging to to the contents of objective consciousness. Because objective consciousness is the pure awareness plus the contents. Huh? Drop the contents. Dissociate from the contents. And this is more true with the dissociation with the I thought. So, one way to proceed is to to drop all the attributes of I. That is the story of the I. That is the person. What you believe you are, it's a story, and you need your memory for that, because it's only data that have been stored in the mind. And suppose you cannot access your data, what can you say about yourself? You remain silent. Can't say, you stop. You have forgotten, because it was only stored in the memory. So now do this consciously. Drop all the contents, the attributes of I, and focus on this I thought, which is the primal thought, which is actually superimposed on pure awareness. Now try to find out what is this I, or where does it come from. And by doing this, the I will vanish. Only practice will confirm you about this process. If you point your attention to this I, after having dropped all the attributes of I, the story, the personal aspects, that I thought will sooner or later vanish into what? Into that awareness. That awareness is also your subjectivity, but nothing personal, nothing individual. It's very vast, its presence, and it's also expanding, because from there you see that it is everywhere. We just need to dissociate with the contents of mind, to step back, to watch this constant. You see that here the witnessing is very powerful, because by witnessing, who is actually witnessing? The seeker who starts the practice of witnessing is still in a sort of identification, because he's identified to himself or herself as the witness, the one who practiced the witnessing. But if you do this for all the arisings, the contents of this mental consciousness, then again, sooner or later, you step back into that which is the pure witnessing, and that is awareness. That awareness is already shining. It's just about deconstructing. You can say it's a regression from the personal individual I to the primal I, and from the primal I into awareness. So you don't need the objective consciousness. You have to deconstruct that objective consciousness, understand how it works, what it is in nature. 21. Knowledge of the reality of the knower terminates mind consciousness, the Sutarivu that knows the non-self. All what the Sutarivu, the mental consciousness, knows, it's a non-self. That is not, it has no real existence. It is the knowledge of phenomena, which come and go. It's not the knowledge of the changeless, the immovable, the permanent. So knowledge of the reality of the knower terminates mind consciousness. Who is the knower? Is it the individual knower? No. There is a knower behind the individual knower. And that is the pure knowingness, that is awareness. So the knowledge of awareness will actually destroy the sense of real existence of phenomena. And you really, really experience that this whole world is a fiction. Yet there is one more step. So at some point here, so you are in the intermediary state, there is no mountain, no trees and no river, you see. First you thought they are real, they are there, they are solid. And then you come to see that it's all irrelevant, it's a fiction, they are not really there. then you say there's no mountain, there's no river, and there are no trees. And that is not the final, you are not in the final vision. You see, it's an intermediary state. And be careful, because this will make you mad. Because you can't find your insertion in this world, where billions of people take this to be real. So how you will cooperate, how you will navigate? You really feel it's a dream. You are walking in a dream. And everyone takes this dream for true. So you are completely lost. You have to drop your job. You want to live in the forest, in the mountain somewhere, far away from this cosmic illusion. So it is here that Guru has an important role. You see? Either the Guru coming to you in the subtle form, or Guru in the physical form. Because you have to go one step more into infinity, so to say. No. You see, what we call the not-self, that is the phenomenality, it is also the same. So there is no difference between samsara and nirvana, because the ultimate transcends these two realities, you can say. It's not two realities, but it transcends. You believe that there is a world of phenomenality, and then that there is absolute consciousness. In the perspective of absolute consciousness, this phenomenality is a nonsense. It's a non-existence. It's a dream. Right? And it is not like that. All what you see is that same absolute consciousness. So there is no need to go in your forest, in your cave, in the desert, far away from this society which is completely mesmerized by this illusion, cosmic illusion. This is divine. All what you experience is divine. You see? That is the final recognition. It is the completion of the journey. So therefore you cannot separate self-realization and God-realization. Don't say that God-realization, because you are a Vedantist, that God-realization is not the final realization, because you are a Vedantist, and that for you only self-realization matters. And you say that God-realization is still, you are still clinging to the forms. It is not like that. The ultimate realization comprises both self-realization and God-realization. When you have self-realization, you may still believe that this mountain does not exist. You follow me? You see? When you come to God's realization, then you realize it's all divine. Whether it is the vast emptiness of absolute consciousness or this creation, this manifestation. That is the Shakti, the Mahashakti of consciousness.